All right, guys. So here we go. Rule 10. This is the last rule. So I want to thank each one of you guys who've been with me in this whole journey. I know we took our first Tuesday off last week, so this is going to be it, our final class on the rules, if we can get through in a timely manner. So I'm going to be looking down every minute, guys, to make sure I can let anybody else in who's trying to get invited in. So give me a minute. All right. So Rule 10, enforcement of penalties. I don't know, every time I get ready to do these rules, it is tough to try to figure out how to transmit the information. When I've been going, as I was going through Rule 10 and trying to figure out how to share it, it was challenging to say the least for myself on a way to transmit the information logically. So as I was debating and figuring out how I wanted to do it, I figured I'm gonna take the 5 W's way of doing it. Okay, the 5 W's is the who, what, when, where, and why. So we're gonna look at penalty, football penalty enforcement, taking the who, what, when, where, why format. The 5 W's is definitely meant to help solve issues or solve problems, to get the answers you need. And so obviously, when we get down to penalty enforcement, we went through Rule 1 through Rule 10, talking about rules. We never started talking about what the penalties are for like holding. We never said it was a 10-yard penalty or this or that. We didn't give it a yardage. We didn't talk about that much. But now we're at the point where we talk the rule now. We talk about what if we do have a face mask? What do we do now? Right? It's a 15-yard penalty, but how do we execute that 15-yard penalty? So in looking at that, we're going to, in this rule, we talk about how to do the enforcement. And again, we're going to look at it in the eyes of who, what, when, where, why. All right. So who fouled? A is the team which puts the ball in play. The opponent is B. A little definition, guys, for you real quick. And K is a team which legally kicks the ball during the down, and the opponents are R. So when we're discussing about who, Team A, which is the offense, Team B, which is the defense, Team K is a kicking team, and R is the receiving team. When we're talking about the aspect of who fouled, is definitely, we need to make sure who it was. When an official reports to the referee, you need to let them know it was offense, it was defense, it was a combination of the both, wherever the case may be. So we need to know A or B, you could say that as well, or the kicking team or the receiving team. Who, A, B, foul. All right. It's also important because when we deal with multiple fouls, like when 2 or more live ball fouls are committed during the same down by the same team, only 1 penalty may be enforced. So we have multiple flags on the field. We didn't know, was it both on offense or was it both on B or defense? The referee needs to know this information. Not that I got a holding and I got a block below the waist. Well, I mean, holding on who? Was it holding on A? Was it holding on B? Was it block below the waist on A? Was it block below the waist on B? So if we know that, let's say we have 2 fouls, a block below the waist and holding, and it's on A, only one of those penalties may be enforced. Okay. All right. This does not include non-player or unsportsmanlike conduct fouls, and we'll talk about the reason why. We're talking about live ball fouls. Even though a non-player or unsportsmanlike foul can happen during a live ball is not treated as a live ball. And the enforcement, and we'll talk about that here future. So a live ball foul, not including that, again, is a double foul if both teams commit fouls during the same live ball period, in which there is no change of team possession. Okay, so we have 2 fouls. There's no change of team possession. Wait a minute, guys. I gotta see if anybody else need to be invited in right quick. All right, everybody should be in so far. There is a change of team possession, and the team in possession at the end of the down fouls prior to the change of possession. All right, so that means what we mean by no clean hands. So basically, that the team. So we're looking at what makes a double foul. Okay, so we got a foul on 2 teams. One, there was a foul on A and B. There was no change of possession, so we have a double foul. Or there was a foul on A and a foul on B, but B recovered the ball, intercepted or recovered the ball, but they fouled prior to the change of possession. So they have no clean hands, it's called. We'll talk about that a little bit more. So that makes a double foul. There's a change of possession and the team in final possession accept the penalty for its opponent's foul anytime during down, which is very unlikely to happen. I don't remember ever seeing that happen. So basically what it's saying is, so there was a foul on A, B intercepted or recovered the ball with clean hands, but at the end of the down, when we present B with the options of accepting or declining the foul by A, B said, "Oh yeah, I want to take that foul," and because and there was a foul on B as well after the change of possession. Let me put that in there too. B said, "Oh yeah, I want to take that foul," and so because B accepted the foul for A, now we have a double foul. Okay, so again, I'm explaining that because I think I messed up a little bit. A foul, B intercepted or recovered the ball, then B foul. And then when we ask B, do you want to accept or decline the foul by A? B said, yes, I want to accept the foul. So now we have a foul on A and a foul on B. It becomes a double foul, and that would make a double foul, right? Again, don't really say that at all, but that's the rule. All right, the penalty is canceled and the down is replayed. So when we have a double foul, the penalty is accepted. The penalties are canceled and the down is replayed, and such time that the penalty is offset. So double fouls offset, right? So we know we have a foul on A and foul on B, they offset in most circumstances, right? And there's some that don't, and we'll cover that. All right. Again, non-player and unsportsmanlike are not included in this double foul. All right, so you can't make an unsportsmanlike or non-player foul into a double foul or bleed it with a live ball foul. Again, we'll talk about the when we get to the spots, we'll talk about that, how that works, but that is not included in this what makes a double foul. All right, so a double foul when both teams commit a foul, there's no change of possession. There was a change of possession, but both teams fouled prior to the change of possession, and there was a foul on A, a recovery or interception by B. Then they fouled, but then B decided to accept the foul by A, which makes now a double foul, and now the penalty is canceled and replayed it down. All right, so that was the who. who fouled. We didn't know that. We know multiple fouls or going to be a double foul. The next is what. And what we mean by this is what type of play, right? Whenever the ball is live, one or two plays are in progress. That is either a loose ball play or a running play, because this immediately determines the basic spot of enforcement unless the spot is otherwise specified by rule. Listen up. Loose ball play and running play has no significance unless there's a foul, right? We don't care if it's a loose ball play. We don't care if it's a running play until there's a foul. And now we have to determine what type of play it was. Was it a loose ball play when the foul happened, or was it a running play? Okay, so let's look at what is considered to be a loose ball play and then what's considered to be a running play. Because when we get to our where, it's very important. So let's go. Okay, a loose ball play is action during a free kick or scrimmage kick, a legal forward pass, a backwards pass, including the snap, illegal kick, or fumble made by A from in or behind the neutral zone prior to the change of possession. Now, I think this one here, the number 3, is kind of like misunderstood, and I want to explain this a little bit more. If there's a fumble behind the line of scrimmage, let's say there's a muff snap behind the line of scrimmage, or there's a fumble behind the line of scrimmage, this is considered a loose ball play, the whole play. So let's say the quarterback takes a shotgun, he rolls to the right, rolls to the left, he gets tackled, he got hit, and he fumbles the ball behind the line of scrimmage. That play is considered, everything is a loose ball play. It's not considered a running play, although he was running behind the line of scrimmage, right? Anytime there's a fumble behind the line of scrimmage, or a muff snap, let's say he snapped the ball and he drops it on the ground, a backwards pass and hits the ground, that whole entire play is now considered a loose ball play. And it's very important when you get down to penalty enforcement, because the loose ball play has its own spot of enforcement, right? So a fumble behind the line of scrimmage is treated like a forward pass beyond the line of scrimmage, and we have a foul, and it's of a loose ball play, right? A backwards pass behind the line of scrimmage is considered a loose ball play, as though we're kicking the ball on a scrimmage down, right? So it's very important to understand that just because there was a running back behind the line of scrimmage, and their fumble came after the run behind the line of scrimmage, once they fumble the ball, that entire play, if there's a foul involved, is now considered a loose ball play, and it does affect where we execute or enforce the foul, a penalty, should I say, all right? Okay, the runs which precede such a legal or illegal kick, legal forward pass, backward pass, or fumble are considered part of actions during a loose ball play, right? So like obviously, if I get the ball and I scramble, and then I throw the ball, everything that running is not considered a running play is all considered a loose ball play, right? A quarterback get the ball and he's running and he's trying to figure out what they do, and he do a quick like a rugby kick or a quick punt. Once he kicks the ball, everything, that entire thing behind the line of scrimmage is now considered a loose ball play. Again, if there's any fumble behind the line of scrimmage, backwards pass, or anything, or illegal kick, all considered a loose ball play. Oh, somebody will try to get in. Give me 1 minute. All right. So it's all considered to be a loose ball play. All right. So a running play is any action not included under Article 1, which we just covered. So in other words, if I'm running the ball, let's say I take the snap, and then I get tackled behind the line of scrimmage without a fumble, that's considered a running play. Or if I get the ball and I run across the line of scrimmage, obviously that's a running play. Could it be a loose? Could we lose possession of the ball, like a fumble? Yes. But a fumble beyond the line of scrimmage is not considered a loose ball play. It's considered to be part of the running play. All right. So there can be many runs or basic spots or runs during a running play. All right. I run, I fumble the ball, right? Then one of my teammates picked it up, that begins a new run. If he fumbles the ball, that ends the run. If somebody else pick it up, it starts a new run. But it's all consistent of a running play, right? It's only a loose ball play if there's a fumble behind the line, neutral zone, behind the line of scrimmage by A. All right, so when we're looking at penalty enforcement, we need to know who, A or B, or AA or BB, or A and no, who fouled. So we know there's gonna be a multiple foul or double foul. We need to know what type of play it was. Was it a loose ball play or was it a running play? But now we also need to know what type of foul it was. So we need to know, it's a lot, right? We need to know what type of foul. So a dead ball foul, which occurs in the time intervals after the down ended and before the ball is the next snap of free kick. So we didn't know if it's a dead ball foul because enforcement on dead ball fouls are different than enforcement on live ball fouls. We know if it's a live ball foul, a foul which occurs during the down. Was it a non-player unsportsmanlike, a non-contact foul while the ball is dead or during the down? And this is the big one, simultaneously with the snap, an act which becomes a foul when the ball is snapped or free kick. So let's talk about simultaneously with the snap because we talk about it a lot. And I just give you some examples of what we mean by simultaneous with the snap. And these are all live ball fouls, right? It's very important because although they're live ball fouls, some officials will call them a dead ball foul and blow the whistle and stop the play. So what are some live ball fouls that are what we can call simultaneously with the snap? In other words, it doesn't become a foul until A snaps the ball. All right, so majority of the simultaneous snap fouls are offense, right? Majority of them are on team A. One of them is illegal formation or numbering, right? That consists of a whole bunch of things. One, let's say they only got they have five backs in the backfield, 5 players in the backfield. That's an illegal formation, right? They can have 5 on the line and no more than 4 in the backfield. So it's very hard to get back in the day, before they changed this rule, right? If you had to have a mandatory 7 on the line. So I mean, if you had 10 players on the field, most of the time, you only had 6 on the line. And we used to call it all the time as an illegal formation. And it's crazy because think about it. They come out with 10 players versus 11, and they score a touchdown with only 10 players, but we're going to nullify that touchdown because they only had 6 on the line of scrimmage. So it's great that the committee had fixed that because it's very hard now to have an illegal formation where all you have to have is 5 on the line of scrimmage, number 50 through 79 in the high school game. And youth, obviously, we don't go with the numbering as much. But as long as you got 5 on the line of scrimmage and no more than 4 in the backfield, we're good. That helps alleviate that foul that really was a sore, especially when they had a great play and we have to call it back. Illegal formation is also not coming into the numbers after each down. Remember, every player A must be in between the numbers before the next snap. So they can't have no hideaway players out there. So that's illegal formation. More than all the linemen locking legs other than the snapper and the two adjacent to the snapper, the only ones that can lock their legs. But if the whole line does it, it becomes an illegal formation. But the thing with this is that it can be fixed before the snap, right? So if we have 5 in the backfield and 5 on the line, if that player, one of the fifth players step up on the line and then they snap the ball, it's legal. So it could be fixed. So basically, simultaneously with the snap means the foul that occurred could have been fixed before the snap. All right. The next one is illegal motion. Right. Obviously, this is a player who is moving toward his opponent, goal line or in line prior to the snap. Right. So if he rolls, and this is a lot of us call false start on this. It's false start, in my opinion, are abrupt motions, right? Where they gave actions at snap more than the guy in motion rolls up toward the opponent's end line before the snap. All right. That's what we can call illegal motion. And it's a live ball foul. It's not a dead ball foul. NCAA is different. They may call it a dead ball foul. But in high school, we do not call it a dead ball foul. I'm letting people in, guys. Give me a minute. We don't call it a dead ball foul. So illegal motion up line is fine. We don't have to call it's a live ball. Now, if he rolled and then he stopped at the line of scrimmage and then they snap the ball, you don't have anything. All right. So again, simultaneously the snap means it's a foul that could have been fixed. He could have stopped and then they snapped the ball. But if he kept going and then they snapped the ball, we have a foul. All right, an illegal shift. This is the one that a lot of coaches start screaming about, especially the opponent when they see it by the offense. All right. So how many times have we seen it to where a guy goes in motion, a player goes in motion, and then a teammate in the backfield moves as well, right? Like they move. So now we got 2 people moving at the same time. Well, if they don't, let's say one stop and the other one keep going, if the ball is snapped, it's an illegal shift because everybody must be momentarily paused for 1 second, 1 full second. However, let's say they both moved, they both stopped, then one moved again, went in motion again, that's legal. But a lot of times what happens is when a lot of either don't know how to fix it, and so then we get a false start in there, or we get some other type of foul in there. Or the other team starts screaming because 2 guys are going in motion. They know something's wrong, and they're looking for us to make a call, but it's not a call until the ball is snapped. If they would just stop, reset, then go in motion, there's no foul. Okay? So again, simultaneous snap means it's a foul that could be fixed before the snap, but it wasn't. Okay, so what are a couple of offense and defense simultaneously with a snap? A substitution infraction, right? What do we mean by this? Let's say a player comes on the field, he has to be on his side of the neutral zone before the ball is snapped. If he's not on his side of the neutral zone before the ball is snapped, we have a legal substitution. A live ball, it's not a dead ball. All right. Let's say a player is trying to leave the field, the number 12 player is trying to leave the field, and the ball is snapped before you get off the field. We have a live ball, illegal substitution foul. So again, it could be fixed. If he got his other side of the neutral zone before the ball is snapped, we're fine, but he didn't. So now we have a substitution infraction. Illegal participation. More than 11 players on the field at the snap, right? It's not a foul until the ball is snapped. So there's 12 players on defense or 12 players on offense. As long as one player gets off the field before the ball is snapped, there's no foul. If they're on the field and the ball is snapped, illegal participation, it is a live ball foul. And, obviously it covers the 15-yard penalty, right? So these are what we call simultaneous with the snap. There's a little more, but this is the ones we're going to just talk about because we see it more often in our games. All right? So that is what? Now we're looking at when. Okay? So when A or B foul, it's very important to know when the foul happened. Why? Because when it gets down to clean hands, it helps us to know if B going to keep the ball or we're going to have a double foul. Okay? If each team fouls during a down in which there is a change of possession, the team last gaining possession may retain the ball provided the foul by the team last gaining possession is not prior to the final change of possession. And the team last gaining possession declines the penalty for its opponent's foul. So this is what we call the clean hands rule, all right? In other words, if I got possession of the ball, B got possession of the ball, that mostly is defense. If B got possession of the ball without having a foul, they didn't hold nobody, they didn't do any face mask anyone, no fouls, no personal fouls, anything like that, and they intercepted or recovered a fumble, they got the ball with clean hands. Now, if let's say now we have a block in the back by a B player because now they got changed possession, they're very excited. One of his teammates blocked a player in the back as he's trying to score a touchdown. Now we have a foul on B. But let's say A was at a legal formation, right? Got to check in. They snapped the ball, intercepted. On the return, B have a block in the back. So now we have two fouls, right? However, B, because he gained possession of the ball with clean hands, he may retain the ball if he declines a foul, right? He has to decline the foul from A. Because if he accepts the foul from A, obviously A is going to accept the foul from B, and now we have a double foul, and A gets the ball back and replay down. It offsets. So typically what B would do is say, well, we decline their foul, and we will keep the ball, and then we go ask A, we got a block in the back on B, A goes like, yeah, they have scored a touchdown. We want to nullify that. So now we're going to take the 10-yard penalty, but B get to retain the ball after the penalty because of the clean hands rule. All right. Play does not have a PSK foul by R. Okay, so the kicking game is totally different when it gets down to the clean hands rules, and we'll talk about that when we get there. We're just really talking about this is just a regular play, live ball play, has nothing to do with a punt or a scrimmage kick. It's not a scrimmage kick down, it's a regular scrimmage down, okay? And again, non-player and unsportsmanlike are not included, all right? Which means, let's say we had a coach that stepped onto the field. Let's say a B coach stepped onto the field prior to B securing possession of the ball. And there's a flag, because we threw a flag because the coach stepped on the field. All right, that's a non-player's foul. That non-player foul is not counted toward a non-clean hands by B. All right, because those are enforced differently. So that B can still retain the ball, even though we flagged the coach before the change of possession because of the non-player foul, right? Even if a coach, cursed somebody out before the change of possession, still, that does not count toward the clean hands rules, right? So non-player unsportsmanlike conduct is not included, or PSK fouls. That's something totally different, and we'll talk about that. But we're just talking about regular plays. All right. So let's talk about enforcement of penalties for unsportsmanlike conduct and non-player dead ball fouls. All right. Penalties for dead ball fouls are administered separately and in the order of occurrence. A dead ball foul is not coupled with a live ball foul or another dead ball foul to create a double or multiple foul. Okay. So if we have an unsportsmanlike conduct foul, all right, or a non-player foul, or a dead ball foul, because they all treated the same, right? We don't mix the two, right? And this is what we got to know when also, because if you see it's in the order of occurrence, right? That's how we administer the foul. So if A have a dead ball foul, and then B have a dead ball foul, we'll administer a dead ball foul by A, and then administer a dead ball foul by B. All right. So, here go an example. In play A, the A player false starts, dead ball foul. And pick B, the B player commits a dead ball personal foul. Both fouls are occurred before the next live ball. The penalties do not cancel or are enforced in the order of occurrence. All right. That makes a big deal, especially if we're talking about half the distance to the goal line fouls, right? So, and one team will get a good advantage on yards on this type of thing, and another team won't. Let's say A is on the 5-yard line, B's 5-yard line, and A false starts. No, let's do that different. Okay, A is on the 5-yard line, on their 5-yard line going out. That work? Yes, that'll work. So A false starts. So that's a 5-yard penalty, but because they're on the 5-yard line, they only go to the 2.5-yard line. But then B committed a personal foul. So now we're gonna go 15 yards from the 2.5-yard line, and A get a better advantage on that type of foul. All right. If it's reversed, let's say B encroached, and let's say A is on B's 5-yard line going in, B encroached, and let's say A committed a dead ball personal foul. Okay, we're gonna go up 2.5 yards because of B's foul first, and then we're gonna go 15 yards back for A. All right, so that's the big difference you can see in those. But hey, this is what it is. Now, here goes something that they put into the rules to help balance things out. If both teams commit unsportsmanlike non-player or dead ball personal fouls prior to the completion of the penalty administration for those fouls, the distance penalty for an equal number of 15-yard unsportsmanlike non-player or dead ball personal fouls will offset. Any remaining penalties will be enforced separately and in the order of their occurrence. Again, it's very important that we know when. When did it happen? When did they foul? Who fouled first? It's very important in administering fouls, administering penalties, should I say. All right. So here we go. And pick A, B player commits a dead ball personal foul. And this is a classic because I can see this happening, right? So B committed a dead ball personal foul. No, they late hit, right? So there's a flag on the play, right? There's a flag on the play, but the coach is still outraged, coming on the field, cussing us out, wherever the catch may be. And so we throw an unsportsmanlike conduct on him. Now, because we did that, because he did that, he's going to lose his 15-yard penalty. Both fouls occur before the next live ball, the fouls offset, and it will be third down. Because a dead ball foul, unsportsmanlike conduct does not change the down. Okay? So it happened at the end of second down, it was going to be third down coming up. But if we marked on the 15 yards, he probably would have got a first. Right? We threw the flag. The flag, you see the flag in pick B, but the coach still wanted to get outraged. And now we got to throw a flag. And now, guess what? They offset all of that for nothing. All of that for nothing. And this is we see it in youth all the time. Like, dude, let us do our job. We know what we're doing. But guess what? They're going to offset. Now, here go another instance here, and pick A, the B player hits the runner out of bounds, late hit, and a dead ball foul. So it's dead ball personal foul, 15-yard penalty. And pick B, 2 A players commit unsportsmanlike conduct foul. Can you see it? Late hit. Then 2 players, man, get in his face, saying something they shouldn't be saying because they're mad because they hit one of their teammates out of bounds, or it could be one of them. So now, according to the rule, we have 1 dead ball 15-yard penalty on B, and 2 dead ball penalties, unsportsmanlike conduct on A. All right. So what happens is these 2 are offset, and then we only execute 1. So A was going to get a 15-yard penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct, versus if they would have just kept their mouth shut and let us do our job, then B would have got the advantage of the 15-yard penalty. But now they're going to get the disadvantage because they didn't let us do our job. And this happens all the time. And you can see it already. The coaches are mad. What are you doing? Coach, 2 of them offset, but you had 2 players that talk. So guess what? Because of the late hit, you're getting a 15-yard penalty rather than B because you open your mouth. It happens all the time. They can just let us do our job and stop all the rattling. We wouldn't have this problem. But you know how it goes. But again, 1 foul in A, 1 foul in B offsets. The penalty for the remaining A foul is enforced. There you go. All right, live ball fouls versus dead ball fouls. All right, when a live ball foul by one team is followed by a dead ball foul by the opponent, the penalties are administered separately in the orders of their occurrence. Again, this is why we need to know when. Right? When did the foul happen? Would it happen to the live ball or it happened to a dead ball? Right? So this don't fall into the multiple fouls where we only enforce 1, or is 1 on each team, and then we only, no. Even now, and this is weird, but it's the truth. If we have a live ball foul, let's say we have a pass interference call on B. All right. Let's say we're on the 20-yard line. On B, A going in on a B 20-yard line, and we had a pass interference on B, right? But then A got up and decided that they wasn't happy about that, and so then they commit a dead ball foul, unsportsmanlike conduct, cursing, whatever the case may be, okay? They don't offset like the dead ball fouls do. Even though they're 2 15-yard penalties, we've enforced both of them. So this is where the disadvantage comes in, because we're on a 20-yard line, we got to go 15 yards. They're going to be half the distance. So they go from the 20 to the 10, but then the foul by A is 15 yards, and we're going to take that whole 15 yards, bringing them back. All right. So the live ball, dead ball don't offset like 2 dead ball or 2 unsportsmanlike conduct fouls. All right. They both get enforced. All right. Now, just to let you know, an unsportsmanlike conduct, even though it was a live ball, is treated like a dead ball. So let's say we have 1 unsportsmanlike conduct foul, which is alive, and then 1 unsportsmanlike conduct foul was dead. They do also. So when the same team commits a live ball foul, followed by 1 or more dead ball fouls, all fouls are penalized. Right? We throw a pass interference on A. Then, let's say we throw an offensive pass interference. Right? So obviously the head coach is getting upset. He getting mad. He starts saying some things he shouldn't say. So then they get an unsportsmanlike conduct foul. So now we're going to mark off the 15 yards if we can for the pass interference on A, and then we're going to knock off another 15 yards if we can for the unsportsmanlike conduct on the coach. Right? There's no multiple fouls. You can have both. All right. Again, that's the difference between live ball and dead ball fouls. unless it's unsportsmanlike conduct or non-player fouls, they all get executed. And again, in the orders of their occurrence. And again, that's why it's so important. We need to know when the foul happened. So we need to know who, A or B, or AA, or BB, right? We need to know what type of play it was, a loose ball play or running play, right? We need to know what type of foul was it, live ball foul, dead ball foul, foul simultaneous snap, pick your choice. And then we need to know when did it happen? Did it happen while the ball was live? Or did it happen when the ball was dead? Which one happened first? Was it B, A first, or B first? If it's all A, it doesn't matter. If it's A and B, it matters. Okay. Okay, here we go. Where? Now we're on where, and this is the one, and bear with me, guys. I really want to get this done today. This is the where. Where is the spot? All right. So we know who, we know what, we know when. Now we gotta know where. All right. Where is the spot? Now, this is the challenging part for me when I was trying to prepare for this and how to transmit this information. The where is the spot was the toughest for me. Okay. Because we're going to get into the basic spot is a point of reference for penalty enforcement, right? The basic spot is a point of reference for penalty enforcement. Another definition is the enforcement spot is the point from which a penalty is enforced. And the spot of a foul is where the foul occurred. Now, the enforcement spot can be the basic spot, but it's not always so. The enforcement spot can be the spot of the foul, but it's not always so. So this is where, like, what? So the basic spot, the point of reference of the penalty enforced. The enforcement spot is where we're going to enforce it from. Typically, it's enforced from the basic spot, but it also could be enforced from the spot of the foul. So it's the wordage and the verbiage that is like makes a soup salad, and it's like you try to figure out what I mean. And I understand it, but a lot of times new people who've never heard it before, it gets kind of like, what? All right. So if a foul occurs during a down, the basic spot is determined by the action that occurred during the down. This is the basic spot for penalty enforcement. So we're talking about the action that occurred during the down. Was it a loose ball play, running play, or was it a running play? So was it a loose ball play, or was it a running play? Again, what was it? So this is spot. And let's just put it this way. The dog is, I call the basic spot. Okay. However, he got different spots on him. If you see here, we got the 20-yard line, the succeeding spot, the previous spot, the end of the run, the end of the kick, the goal line. All of these can be a basic spot. So when we say a foul is from the basic spot, we're just saying it's a foul. That's where we're going to mark it from. But the basic spot is not in and of itself a spot. Okay, like, okay, he ran, he ended his run there, which is on there as a basic spot. But that does not necessarily mean it is the basic spot. Right? It could be the previous spot. It could be the 20-yard line. It could be the succeeding spot. So think of the basic spot as being the dog. And think of all the other the other enforcement basic spots as the spots on the dog. So they're all the same, but they're not, right? Confusing. But I'm hoping by you looking at the dog, it makes sense, right? So let's keep going. So the basic spot where the related run ends for a foul, which occurs during a running play. So let's talk about the basic spot for a running play, and we're getting the basic spot for a loose ball play. Again, I want to finish this class. It might be a little over an hour. Okay. So the basic spot is where the related run ends for a foul which occurs during a running play. Go. The end of the run is where the ball becomes dead in runner's possession, right? He's running the ball, he gets tackled. The basic spot is where he got tackled at. Where the runner loses possession, if he runs, is followed by a loose ball. Okay, this is why we drop beanbags on fumbles beyond the line of scrimmage. Believe it or not, you do not need a beanbag behind the line of scrimmage. Now I'll tell you why in a minute. You only need a beanbag on fumbles beyond the line of scrimmage. The basic spot. And use yourself. Sorry about that. We need to mark that's the basic spot on a run play that's followed by a loose ball. We mark the beanbag as a reference point of that's the basic spot. So if there's a foul that happens while the ball is loose, we go back to the basic spot for enforcement, right? And the beanbag doesn't know where it's at. There you go. Thank you. Sorry about that. And the spot of the catch or recovery when the momentum rule is in effect. So in other words, within 5 yards, B intercept the ball within 5 yards, and momentum takes him into the end zone. We do drop a beanbag on that interception only because his momentum took him into the end zone, and that way we recover the ball from is the basic spot, not the goal line. The basic spot is where he recovered the ball. We don't beanbag every interception. We only beanbag recoveries or interceptions by B that puts him into his goal line 5 yards or less. Okay? To let you know that. So, a basic running play. The ball is snapped, he runs, he gets tackled, the end of the run, that's the basic spot. All right? I could have put some more diagrams on here, like a run, a fumble, picks it back up, that creates a new basic spot. Runs, fumbles, picks it up, that creates a new basic spot. Right? That can continue on, but it only matters if there's a foul. There's no foul, it doesn't matter. If there's a foul, we need to figure out when did the foul happen, so we determine which basic spot. It's not going to be the first basic spot, the first fumble, because it might be the second fumble basic spot. Right? Confusing. I know. Okay. The basic spot is the previous spot. Here we go. So the basic spot for a run play is the end of the run. Right? We look at 3 different ways for that. But let's just make it simple. Where you got tackled, right? Where you got down, that's the basic spot for a run. All the other stuff we can just go over and when we get to the other courses. Right? So the basic spot is a previous spot for. All right, the previous spot is where the ball was last snapped. I put a definition in there to let you know what the previous spot is. All right. Okay. So a foul which occurred simultaneously with the snap or free kick. So remember we went over all of those simultaneously with the snap? Okay, so if we have a foul simultaneously with the snap, no matter if they ran it, don't make a difference if they threw it, or let's say they ran it down the field. A foul that's a simultaneously with the snap, illegal formation, illegal shift, illegal motion, is a previous spot foul. So the basic spot for that type of foul is the previous spot, which is where the ball was snapped, last snap from, and that becomes the basic spot. A foul which occurs during a loose ball play, right? So remember that fumble? So look at this. What happens if A is in the backfield, A gets tackled and he fumbles the ball, and the defender B, pulls his face mask. But the ball is recovered by A behind the line of scrimmage. The thing is, where do we execute or enforce the foul? From where the recovery is, are from the line of scrimmage. Okay. A fumble behind the line of scrimmage is considered a loose ball play. The reason why we don't have to beanbag a fumble behind the line of scrimmage, because if there's a foul, it's going to go back to the previous spot. The reason why we beanbag fumbles is not to say it's a fumble. We beanbag fumbles to let us know if we had to execute, there's a foul and we have to go back to the end of the run, it's be where he fumbled the ball. That's why we drop beanbags. There's no beanbags needed for anything that happened behind the line of scrimmage, even a muff snap, because if there's a foul that happened, it goes back to the previous spot. We already know what that is, the line of scrimmage. We got a big down indicator that tells where that is at, so we don't need a beanbag. Beanbags are unnecessary because all fouls will go back to the previous spot. So in other words, if I fumble the ball behind the line of scrimmage, I got face mask, and the ball was recovered 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage, we don't mark off the 15 yards from where to recover that. We go back to the line of scrimmage and mark off the 15 yards. Okay? That's how that works. The only reason it won't happen if I held on to the ball and then I got tackled, then it's going to be there where we mark off the 15 yards because that's the end of the run. But if there's a fumble, it's considered a loose ball play. Now we go back to the previous spot. All right? All of that, we watch the video because I'm sure that's might be a little confusing. All right. So, for a foul which occurs during a down in which a legal kick occurs and an inadvertent whistle ends the down prior to possession by either team. So, the ball was kicked, either legal formation or there was a block below the waist by R, but before anybody can secure possession, some referee who got his whistle or her whistle in his mouth, who saw the foul, decided to blow the whistle, or thought somebody recovered the ball when it was loose and blew their whistle. Now we have an inadvertent whistle, right? However, because there was a foul, remember, fouls supersede inadvertent whistle. So there's a foul in the play prior to the inadvertent whistle, the foul is still in effect and we can administer it. But where are we going to administer it from? The previous spot. So if it was R who fouled, which is really bad if it's R and we do an inadvertent whistle, because, and we'll talk about that in a minute, I'm just thinking about it. But let's say R fouled, and then we had inadvertent whistle, and we bring it back, and then now we mark off the foul from the previous spot. It may give K enough for a first down, which it should have been R's ball, but because of our inadvertent whistle, K keeps the ball, right? And now we affected the play, and it sucks, all right? The basic spot is the succeeding spot. The definition of a succeeding spot: the succeeding spot is where the ball would next be snapped or free kicked if a foul had not occurred. Hey guys, real quick, I need a thumbs up if y'all want to continue, or just unmute yourself and let me know, because it is already 9:08 and we've not even close to being done. So you give me another 30 minutes, let me know. I really want to finish this today. It's up to you. It's just a lot of information. But anyway, the basic spot is a succeeding spot. The succeeding spot is where the ball would next be snapped or free kicked if a foul had not occurred. So, in other words, let's find out what they are real quick. For an unsportsmanlike foul, for a dead ball foul, for a non-player foul, and when the final result is a touch foul. This is not NCAA, guys. This is National Federation High School. All right. These fouls here, the unsportsmanlike conduct, the dead ball foul, and the non-player foul, does not have a direct effect on the play. What I mean by that is whatever happened during that down counts. So the succeeding spots mean, okay, let's say a foul didn't happen. What would next happen? let's say A on 4th down didn't reach the line of game, right? And let's say B cuts out an official, right? We don't say, okay, you committed unsportsmanlike conduct foul, and now we're going to mark off 15 yards and then give A 15 yards. No, the next place where the ball is going to be snapped is in possession of B. So B will still get possession of the ball, and then we mark off the 15 yards, and it'd be B's ball. Now, all right, let's make it different. Let's say it's a live ball unsportsmanlike conduct. Let's say it was 4th down. They didn't get in. I mean, as the ball was live, as he trying to get his 1st down, let's say the B coach came onto the field, and then we threw a flag on the B coach being on the field, right? It's a live ball, unsportsmanlike conduct foul. But don't make a difference if it's a live ball or dead ball. It's all treated as a dead ball. So where's the foul marked off from? The succeeding spot. So A don't get an advantage, or no teams get an advantage for unsportsmanlike conduct foul. All right, they don't get extra space for that. It's the down is over. If they score a touchdown, let's say it's taunting, and they get into the score and end zone, and we don't flag, even though we threw a flag for him taunting before he scored. It's not a spot foul. It's a succeeding spot foul, which means where would the ball be next after the touchdown if there was no foul that happened? The try, or by rule, it can be the subsequent kickoff. So we're not going to throw a flag for taunting and then nullify the touchdown. No, the touchdown remains, and then it goes from either the try or the kickoff. So that's why we read everything else. It doesn't matter. Those doesn't count toward multiple fouls or double fouls. They're their own separate animal and entity. So that's very important to know. Anytime you have any of those, it's from the succeeding spot. All right. Loose ball exceptions. All right. The basic spot may, at the option of the offended team, be the succeeding spot for fouls by K during a legal or scrimmage kick down prior to the end of the kick, when K will not be next to put the ball in play. So in other words, let's say illegal formation by K, and the ball is kicked and recovered by R, and then R runs the ball and R gets tackled. Okay, and that's the end of the run. That's the basic spot in the run. This is R and the succeeding spot, because that's when the ball being put into place. So it becomes 2 spots, right? It becomes the basic spot, the succeeding spot. All right. Then we go to R and say, listen, we have legal formation on A. Your options are you can go back to the previous spot and mark off 5 yards and re-kick because it's a loose ball play and it goes back to the previous spot. But they made an exception now to where they can say, no, we want to take it from the succeeding spot, and we want to just mark the 5 yards off from where we're going to snap the ball from now, and then we go up 5 more yards and we want to go back to the previous spot and snap the ball. The next one is on a subsequent kickoff. The succeeding spot may, at the option of the offended team, be the subsequent kickoff, as in Rule 8, which is talking about scoring, right? So there's a foul on the scoring play by B. A can say, we want to take it at the kickoff or on a try. All right, so all those things are succeeding spot exceptions, because although it may be doing let's say they do a touchdown and B foul doing a touchdown, doing a pass play, and by rule it's going to be a previous spot foul. See, they want to confuse you now and say, well, it can be a succeeding spot foul now. All right, so there you go. All right. The score is nullified if a penalty is accepted for a foul other than non-player unsportsmanlike by A, which occurs during an accessible try, field goal, or touchdown. So in other words, A scores and there's a foul other than on non-player. Remember, non-player unsportsmanlike, it does not affect the play, right? It's as though a foul has not occurred because it's a succeeding spot foul. Okay, here's an example. R has an additional option when K fouls during a free kick or scrimmage kick down. The penalty may be enforced on the succeeding spot if K is not next to put the ball in play. In other words, if K didn't recover the kick, then it's going to be a previous. The basic spot will be the previous spot, and we'll mark off the foul and be a re-kick. But if R maintains the ball, they can just mark the foul on their at the end of their run. All right, here you go. Another one. I think we showed it before. He's taunting. He scores. We're not going to take back the touchdown. B gets to decide they want to do it on a kick or on a try. All right. Okay. The basic spot is a 20-yard line. Oops, got one. Is a 20-yard line for fouls by either team when the opponent of the team in possession at the time of the foul is responsible for forcing the ball across the goal line of the team in possession, and the related run ends in the end zone as is followed by a loose ball, regardless of where the loose ball becomes dead. And let me tell you something. I read that. That's all one paragraph, by the way. When I read that, I literally had to take the whole day to try to figure out what the hell they say. Right? The verbiage sometimes can be confusing and it can gloss right over you. I understand that. That's why I'm gonna try to break it down to you. And the example they use is this. Okay, I found this after I've been glossed over, then I found a slide. Okay, so basically the example they're using here is A threw an intercept, B intercepted A's ball in his end zone. Okay. And there was a foul, no matter where the foul was at, but B was tackled in his end zone, and when he was tackled, he fumbled the ball, and the ball went out the end line, out of the goal line, sideline, goal line, end zone, right? And that was a foul by B. On the other slide is a foul by A. So A foul in one slide, B foul in the other slide. But the result was still the same. It doesn't matter if either team fouled. If it's followed by a loose ball, the basic spot is the 20-yard line. So basically what they're saying is they're going to credit B as though it was a touchback. Although he fumbled the ball, it's a touchback. And the basic spot for a touchback is the 20-yard line. This is the seating spot, basically. Okay. Here go another slide. This here is the fumble went back inbound and back out of bounds. Now, typically, we will, if we don't understand the rules, we're going to think that we should enforce the foul from the 3-yard line because he fumbled the ball and went back into the field of play, and then it went out of bounds. However, the rule said it doesn't matter where the ball goes, right? Because the run in the end zone, and then there was a foul either by A or by B, and although the ball did roll back inbound, back out of bounds, that's not the spot. The basic spot will be the 20-yard line still. So if you don't know that rule, we will be more reluctant to enforce it from the 3-yard line versus enforcing it from the 20. Okay. And the basic spot is the goal line for a foul which are committed during a running play by the opponent of the team in possession at the time of the foul. When the team in possession is responsible for forcing the ball across its own goal line and the related run ends in the end zone. Again, that's all one paragraph. I break it down. That's the way I can understand it. So, okay, so this is a little bit different. What we're saying here is B intercepted the ball outside the 5-yard line, take it to the 6-yard line, right? Remember, the momentum rule only covers 5 ends. So let's say he got it from the 6. and he goes into his end zone, right? And he is tackled there, right? Don't make a difference. And then let's say he loses possession of the ball and it goes out of bounds. Don't make a difference where it goes out of bounds, right? Normally that will be a safety. But because A fouled B prior to the end of the run, is going to be marked from the goal line. The goal line is now the basic spot. So on an interception that would normally be a touchback, and there was a foul and there was a loose ball, it's going to be credited as a touchback. The basic spot is the 20-yard line. On something that would normally be a safety because he went into the end zone on his own accord, it wasn't momentum. He's in his own end zone. He got the run ended there, but because there was a foul by A, now that you got B don't matter. A foul by A, now it's going to be B's ball, but instead of being a safety, we're going to mark off from the goal line. This is a face mask. You're going to go to the 15-yard line, B's ball 1st and 10. Okay? That should be a little more understanding than the other one. But if you notice the loose ball, it doesn't matter where the loose ball goes. It ended in the end zone. The goal line is the basic spot. All right. And then this is a 10-5 enforcement spot for any foul by the defense in the goal line when the run ends in the end zone and it result in a safety. So the goal line, not referring to, we were talking about B getting the ball, but it's also referring to A. So let's say A is on the 2-yard line, right? The quarterback goes back to throw a pass in his end zone. He get tackled, but he get face mask, right? The run in the end zone. The basic spot is in the end zone. But now the basic spot, the enforcement spot is going to be the goal line, okay, on that particular play. So it's the same animal, different species, or different stripes, whatever. Okay. The basic spot is a spot where kick ends when R commits a post-scrimmage kick foul. This is the PSK. All right, a post-scrimmage kick. A foul by R when the foul occurs during a scrimmage kick plays. During a scrimmage kick play in which the ball is crossed the expanded neutral zone. The foul happened beyond the expanded neutral zone and before the end of the kick. All right. I think it's one more, maybe. Okay. And K will not be next to put the ball in play. All right. So it's very important about the post-scrimmage kick foul, or the post-PSK they normally call it. And because it's going to change some variables. So let's real quick, let's go back over this. This is a punt. Basically, A is on 3rd down or 4th down, and they decide they want to punt the ball off to R, to be R. Okay. And let's say when they punt the ball, and while the ball is loose, R committed a foul. By the rule that we read, any fouls on a loose ball goes back to the previous spot, but not this foul by R, because they made a rule exception called a PSK. All right, so let's look at this right here as an example. All right, so that line right there is the expanded neutral zone. Okay, so this is what would not be a PSK. All right, R2 blocks the punt, but the ball never crossed the expanded neutral zone. R3 holds while the ball is loose. All right, so the ball never crossed, the ball stayed on the other side. There was a foul, but the foul wasn't beyond. Remember, to be a PSK, the ball needs to cross, and the foul by R needs to be on the other side of the expanded neutral zone to be a PSK. All right, but we see that the foul was behind the line of scrimmage. All right, so it's a loose ball play. So the basic spot is the previous spot. Okay, so because R, even though R recovered the ball, right? there has to be all 5 of them. There has to be a scrimmage kick check. That was scrimmage kick. All must cross the expanded neutral zone. It did not. Okay. The foul must be beyond the expanded neutral zone. It wasn't. Okay. And all recovered the ball, which, but you have all 5, and you didn't. So this will be considered a loose ball foul, a loose ball play, and then the previous spot. So K will mark it off. They'll mark off the whole 10 yards going toward R. It might be a first down for K, it may not, but it's not considered a post-scrimmage kick foul. All right. So let's look at this one. Again, now we got the expanded neutral zone. The ball is snapped, R holds K2. So the hole is beyond the expanded neutral zone. So we got a scrimmage kick check 1. We got a hole which was beyond the expanded neutral zone. So we got a flag there. The ball crosses the expanded neutral zone, which is great. And now we throw a beanbag, right? That beanbag represents the basic spot, because it's the basic spot is the end of the kick. And the end of the kick is when they recover it or it goes dead by rule. So we're going to throw a beanbag. The covering official is going to throw a beanbag because he advanced, okay? But the PSK applies. So what happens is this becomes the basic spot where the beanbag is, where he recovered it. So because of the hole by R1, we're going to go back to the basic spot, the beanbag, and mark off the 10 yards. Okay. All right. Rationale, and this is rules by topic. By punting the ball, K has indicated it has ended his attempt to earn a series. PSK allows R to keep the ball after enforcement of a penalty for a foul committed under the correct circumstances. So that clean hand rule does not apply on a kick, right? On a regular scrimmage, in order for B to keep the ball on a change of possession, they can't foul until after they had no fouls between the time the ball is snapped and then they recover and intercept the ball. But on a PSK, it's different, okay? It allows R to retain the ball even with unclean hands. In other words, they fouled before they even got possession of the ball, but that rule is exempt from kicks, from scrimmage kicks, all right? Now, this one right here is other, I didn't include it, but it's a PSK other than a legal substitution, legal participation. So in other words, in A, they got 12 on the field, and then the ball is snapped. That's a snap, that's a foul simultaneously with the snap. That's a previous spot that's not considered PSK enforcement. So we're going to bring the ball back, and we're going to mark off 15 yards from the previous spot for K. However, in B, let's say they had 11 on the field to begin with, the ball was kicked, and then let's say another player, let's say there's only 10 on the field, and then 11 ran on the field, or a 12th person ran on the field, whatever the case may be. Now we got an illegal substitution again, illegal participation, but because it happened after the kick, it becomes a PSK. Confusing, right? All right. Clean hand rules do not apply if each team fouls during a down in which there is a change of possession, and all R fouls are post-scrimmage kick fouls. In other words, that all fouls happen beyond the expanded neutral zone. Then R may retain the ball, provided R declines the penalties for K's foul of non-player unsportsmanlike or not. So if one of those happen, they don't have to decline it, they can accept it and still keep the ball because those are marked from the succeeding spot as those. So we're talking about a double foul. In other words, again, K illegal formation, or right, or whatever, illegal formation, illegal participation, holding, whatever K did. They kicked the ball. R committed a foul too, blow the waist, but it happened. All the ingredients was there. The ball crossed. The foul was on the other side. There's a foul. If R decides to accept K's holding or whatever they did, it becomes a double foul. And then we're gonna replay it down. But if R declines K's foul, R get to keep the ball, and then K can accept the penalty for R if they want it, and then we only mark off the foul for R. All right, got an example of it. Punt cross, and we got a holding there. We got a holding there. So holding by K, holding by R. We're going to decline that foul there. We're only going to enforce now because he recovered the ball here. This becomes the basic spot. All right. So even though he advances, whatever the case may be, that's going to be the basic spot. Here got another one. And this one is different, guys. They're going to expand neutral zone. We had a foul by R on K. Now the ball went back. The ball cleared the expanded neutral zone, but it bounced back. Okay. And R, this is the basic spot because R recovered the ball there. However, the spot of the foul is behind the basic spot. So behind the basic spot, here we go. The post-scrimmage kick foul spot is the spot where the kick ends. That's where R recovered the ball on the other side of the line of scrimmage. R retains the ball after penalty enforcement from a post-scrimmage kick spot when a post-scrimmage foul occurs. Fouls by R behind the post-scrimmage kick spot are spot fouls. So now we're about to get into, oh my gosh, time is running out. We're about to get into the all but one principle. All right. So even though we say the basic spot is the end of the kick where R recovers, if there's a spot foul and the spot foul is behind the basic spot of R, we go from the spot of the foul. The all but one principle. Enforcement philosophy is based on the fact that a team is given the advantage of a distance which is gained without assistance of a foul. It is assumed that the only foul which would give this aid is a foul by offense behind the basic spot. Therefore, all fouls but this one, that is a foul by offense behind the basic spot, are penalized from the spot of the foul. A couple of years ago, when I was getting white hats, I kept asking everybody, what's the all but one principle? And I heard everything under the sun but what it is. Okay? So let's look at this. We got two teams. We got one basic spot. So there can be four different categories of fouls. All right? A foul by offense behind the basic spot, a foul by offense beyond the basic spot, a foul by defense behind the basic spot, and a foul by defense beyond the basic spot. Okay? So there's four possibilities of categories of fouls. Okay. Now, if you look at this, the three areas, the offense, the foul beyond basic spot, the defense foul beyond the basic spot, and the defense foul behind the basic spot, that is the all and the all but one principle. So the all is those three fouls. All fouls are marked from the basic spot. We're going to go where the end of the run, previous spot, the end of the kick, 20-yard line, the goal line, wherever the basic spot may be. That's the basic spot. And in any of those fouls, beyond it, by offense or defense, beyond it, behind it, we're going to go back to the basic spot to mark it off. However, the foul behind the basic spot by the offense is a spot foul on the enforcement spot. This is the all but one, right? So out of all the four fouls, only one is not marked from the basic spot. That's the foul behind the offense basic spot or on the kick. If the basic spot is further up than the foul by R, we go to the spot foul. Okay. So if I ask you, what is the all but one principle? It is all fouls are marked from the basic spot except one that's behind the basic spot by offense or by A. All right. So why special? Real quick. These are all special rules. In other words, everything we talked about doesn't apply to these. It's 10 of them. A free kick out of bounds untouched by R, a kick catching interference, an unfair act, a foul by the opponent of the scoring team on a successful try, and then on a successful field goal, a foul that occurred during or after a touchdown scoring play, a roughing the passer, roughing the kicker holder, roughing the snapper, fouls by K during a free kick or scrimmage kick down prior to the end of a legal kick. So all of these have special rule enforcement and options. So everything we talked about really doesn't apply to these 10. Why? That's the why. I don't know why. That's just the way you do it. For example, the enforcement spot is a dead ball spot for roughing the passer when the dead ball spot is beyond the neutral zone and there has been no change of team possession. So remember, he's passing the ball. That is considered a loose ball play. The rule says any loose ball, any fouls on a loose ball play is taken back to the previous spot. That's the basic spot. However, the enforcement spot is not the basic spot for roughing the passer. If the ball is dead beyond the line of scrimmage, we got a recovery. They recover. They caught the ball even though they roughing the passer. We're going to enforce it from that spot. So that's different than what we know the rules say do. But again, that's why it's so important that we study the rules. That's why it's so important that we get into the rules because things change and we have to know all these things. That's why typically a referee, the white hat, typically have a lot more years of experience than everyone else because he needs to know all this. All right, so I'm done with the whys, but let's throw in a couple of how, right? There's a what is who, what, where, when, why, and then sometimes how. So how after a foul. So what do we do? How do we administrate it after a foul? This is what happens. We're almost done for real. The distance penalty for any foul may be declined, right? So believe it or not, it can be a 15-yard penalty. It can decline the 15-yard. They can decline the 5 yards. Any distance on any penalty can be declined, right? The choice of an options may not be revoked. So once we ask the designated representative, the head coach or the captain, what they want to do, if they say, I want to decline it, I want to be third down or fourth down, they can't say, oh, no, we changed our mind. Nope. Once you gave the choice, you stick with it. We don't change it. And decisions involving penalties shall be made before any charge timeout may be granted either team. Wing guys, right? If a foul happens and a coach is asking for a timeout, that coach has to wait until after the referee gets what the other defendant coach want to do. We don't give a timeout until after we find out you want to accept the foul, decline the foul. Well, after we give all the options. So the timeouts have to wait. A disqualified player shall be removed. So even though let's say they decline the penalty for fighting, we don't want the 15 yards, the player is still disqualified and still must be removed. All right, so real quick, on a live ball foul, after it ends, the referee should do a couple of things. One, should notify both teams, right? We got holding on 56, so everybody knows, right? We're going to inform the representative of the offended team, right? We're going A held B, so we're going to go, whoever the coach designated has been the one to make the decisions on B. We're going to say, hey, we got a holding on A. If it's a double foul, let's say we got a block below the waist on A, and we got a slapping the helmet of a defensive slap a helmet of a blocker, they are double fouls, they offset. We don't got to talk to anybody about that. We just offset them. All right. The rights of a penalty of acceptance of the declination. So we're going to go back to the former representative. You want to accept this penalty or you want to decline this penalty. But before we give them the option to accept it, we got to let them know what's going on. We're going to let them know what down is going to be. If you accept it, it's going to be third down. Decline is going to be fourth down. All right, it's going to be a 10-yard penalty from the basic spot, right? Wherever that is, the previous spot, the end of the run, whatever basic spot, the end of the kick, the 20-yard line, the goal line, who knows? The spot is the spot. But we're going to let them know. This is where it's going to be marked off from. This is what down is going to be. Do you want it or don't want it? And then we're going to let them know the status of the ball, right? It's going to be the live ball, dead ball. It's going to ball clock going to start running when we after we mark it off, what the case may be. All this information we need to let the representative know before they say yea or nay on the foul. Right? Again, this is why it's so important. As a crew chief, you know all of this information. All right. How after a foul? Okay. If the offense team throws a legal forward pass from the end zone or commits any other foul for which the penalty is accepted and the measurement is from, on, or behind the goal line, it is a safety. In other words, the basics, let's say we're going to all but one principle, right? Let's say A is on the 5-yard line, their 5-yard line. They snap the ball, the quarterback runs into his end zone. He's about to get sacked, so he threw away the ball, right? He thinks it's outside the box. That don't mean nothing else. So now we're going to throw a flag for intentional grounding, right? The flag is in the end zone because the spot of the foul is where he threw it. We know that all but one principle says that all fouls but this one is marked from the spot of the foul, with the foul behind the basic spot, which is the previous spot because he threw it. It's a loose ball play. Because it's already in the end zone, we're going to mark it to the end line. It's a safety. So any fouls by A in their end zone is a safety because that's the spot of the foul, and that's where we got to mark it. All right. The scores, I think we were right. The scores nullify the penalty is accepted or a foul other than non-player foul by which A, which occurs on a down, resulting in a successful try, goal. So they score a touchdown and there's a foul, and B accepts it. The score is wiped out. Okay. All right. So here we're almost at the end. This is a dead ball foul. We have a dead ball foul. The covering official would not permit the ball to become live. Right. Guys, this is not simultaneously with the snap. We're talking about dead ball foul, like false start, encroachment, false start, encroachment is all right. You can have an illegal substitution in there too, but that's typically what we normally see, a false start or encroachment. If we see it, they're going to not, the current official going to blow the whistle, we're not going to let the ball become live, right? The referee shall do what? Same thing, notify both teams. You're going to talk to the representative and like, hey, it's your options. Typically, we don't ever ask. On a dead ball foul like false start, by rule, you're supposed to ask the coach, do as he want, the 5-yard false start or the 5-yard encroachment. We never ask because that's so stupid. Of course, they want it, but by rule, they have to do it. And the effects of accepting or declining. The reason they made this rule of accepting or declining is for the kicking team. So let's say I'm on a 3-yard line, I'm going to kick a field, I'm going to try, and let's say the defense encroach, right? I'm comfortable at the 3-yard line. I don't want to get no closer. So I can literally decline the foul, the penalty, and just say, okay, it is an encroachment. We're going to just kick now, all right? So we don't have to force a team to take the distance, all right? It's a foul. You want the distance? No, I accept the foul, but I don't want the distance. Okay, it's a foul, re-kick, all right? From the same 3-yard line. All right, on the down and distance to be gained. So, hey coach, we got an encroachment on the defense. It's a 5-yard penalty. If you accept it, it will result in a first down because you only got 4 yards to go. Do you want it? No, I don't want it. We want to play. No, they're going to take it. So what? Why we ask? I don't know. What the rules say? Right? And the representative may accept or decline the bill. Right? It's up to him. And this is it. This is the last slide. Enforcement of a penalty cannot take the ball no more than half the distance of the enforcement spot to the offended team goal line. If the prescribed penalty is greater than this, the ball is placed halfway from the spot of enforcement to the goal line. So half of this to the goal line, right? We all know about that. I don't need to explain that, right? And that's it. Right? So you can unmute yourself and tell me, man, you took too damn long. But thank you for letting me finish it, because that is the end of the general overview.